we should be officially live. Your audio's good?
Audio's good.
Let's do a quick countdown and we'll be right back. Go grab popcorn, everybody. Here we go. Well, hello there, Mr. Duke Lowry.
Well, I'll tell you, Robert Wright has just done screwed us up.
I know, we're having to go to these shorter intros, and if I'd ever get around to doing a new intro video and get our Cypress commissioners' faces off of there, it might be a little better. I'll get around to it one day.
Well, so, like, the problem for me is by the time that, hello to your lovely wife.
Yes.
So by the time the notice pops up for me to be able to share it on my page, we're already live. So I'm sitting here.
I know we don't have time to do it, and we're sitting here fiddling around with our phones while we're supposed to be live. And yeah, you're right, it is a problem. Maybe we need to go back to a slightly longer one. I don't know. But you know, it's kind of a normal thing now when you're in the middle of a conversation with somebody for them to be on their phone and you to be on your phone, and then you're kind of having this awkward conversation. Our whole society's changing.
You know, but Robert Wright doesn't show us any love anymore anyway, so maybe we should go back the other direction. For some reason, he abandoned us. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's kind of the silence is deafening kind of thing.
Perhaps he doesn't like cockroaches. I don't know.
Well, maybe not. Maybe he's hanging around with all the other Bossier Republican PEC members. You know, they've been pretty silent here lately, like nothing going on, like crickets. And, well, I guess their crickets were cockroaches. I don't know. Anyway.
Crickets and cockroaches and insects. Anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
Well.
All right. So what's on our agenda tonight, Mr. Lowry?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't really, I mean, no, this year, my goodness, I can't say enough about how sucky this year is, but a few weeks ago, we had a good friend on the show, talked a little bit about his goals in the future, and unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. And, you know, just as a lot of folks know, Luke Letlow passed, and you know, the guy loved Louisiana, and you know, it didn't matter where you were in the state. In fact, I spoke with Louis Gervich today, and Louis Gervich said, you know, he said if somebody called him from Plaquemine Parish needing help, and somebody called him from Bossier Parish needing help, it would be a race for him to call both folks back. Just, you know, a lot of folks don't know his history and know the background, and they'll never know. You know, there's a lot that he did for people in different parishes, and I don't know, just.
Well, yeah, it really is, and I didn't obviously know Luke as well as you did, not even close. But I absolutely enjoyed our interview, and you know, from what I know of him, and from that interview, and what we've read on social media, and pretty much everybody else, he was really truly one of the good guys. You know, he was what I would consider a true conservative, looking out for the Republican Party, looking out for a state, looking out, like you said, not just for his area over on the east side of the state, but even over here in the northwest side of the state. So yeah, it's really a sad deal, and our condolences out to Luke's family and all of his friends, and and all that. As a matter of fact, I've got a clip of his interview with us. It's about a 30-second clip. And Duke, if you want, I'll go ahead and share that because I think it pretty much epitomizes, kind of what Luke was about.
We actually had some good success. We actually picked up numerous Republicans in Congress. They were not, the Democrats weren't expecting that. They thought they were going to add 5 to 10 more Democrats. And, we've got the most women that have ever been elected in a freshman class of Republicans, Republican women, and also just diversity. We've got numerous, Hispanics that have run, and all of that is just where we need to be as a party to move forward. We've got to make sure that we are that line of defense against this radical left that wants to take our country off the deep end.
And, that's a couple of important points that he made right there, talking about the November elections, we've got more Republican women coming into Congress, and just, the trying to paint a picture of the Republican Party being a true inclusive party, because, as well as I do, Duke, a lot of times the left tries to paint Republicans as non-inclusive. The left is supposed to be the party of the inclusive, and that's just simply not true.
And the line of defense, I like the line that he used, and he was always, he knew what to say at the right time, and if you knew Luke, I mean, there was nobody. It didn't matter party affiliation. I mean, I would argue that he probably had more friends that were not Republican than Republican. And he was a straight shooter. He told you what he thought. And, the line of defense, he knew who the bad guys were. He knew who the good guys were. And like you said, he was without question one of the good guys. And I'm still stunned. I'm still stunned. I see friends that I know were mutual friends across the state, and they're still in shock. They just you knew when I first met Luke, you knew the guy was going somewhere. And it was kind of funny. I'll say something interesting about him. He was always wearing his cowboy boots. I think that was just his thing. It always kept him grounded. It kept him reminding him of his roots, and he always had his cowboy boots on. And he had a swagger and a way about him that it didn't matter who he was talking to. Man, he could melt a room. He was that guy.
Absolutely, great personality, and yeah, like I said, a lot of times when things like this happen, you'll see, positive, and of course you see negative stuff on social media and all that, but pretty much everything I've read, even on the news reports and reading some of the comments, there's virtually like zero negative stuff about him, and so that tells you something, that he was well liked by a whole lot of people. So
yeah, he did a lot of good work. And anyway, till the next time I see him, and if he was here, he would say, keep in the fight.
Absolutely.
Going.
Well, speaking of keeping going and keeping in the fight, so I'm scrolling down through our notes here, and you have taxes and property taxes.
It's taxes, money. And I know that everybody is bent out of shape. I mean,
Yes.
you see it, I see it, everybody sees it. I mean, but we already kind of knew a little bit. We were already getting feedback about people being wound up. And with the events of the past week, I don't think that's go decreasing any.
No, well, you have what's happened in the last week on the national level. You have the notices, here in Bossier Parish, and I'm sure most other parishes and municipalities, from the dreaded tax man, and I say that jokingly because you and I both know Bobby Evanston real well. He's really a good guy, even though, well, he is the tax man. But yeah, a lot of people are getting those notices, and I'll say this for our viewers: I've got a copy of a police jury meeting from a couple of months ago, And Bobby was there to explain the millages and the rolling forward and rolling back situation, as well as the property tax assessments, which is what he's actually responsible for in Bossier Parish, during this year with COVID and the business shutdowns and all that. So I'll try to get that posted here in the next day or two. It's pretty informational for people who don't kind of know how that process works. Bobby does a good job of actually explaining that to the police jury for everybody to hear. So,
and maybe that's a show that we put together because while people like you and I take for granted the understanding of the tax structure and the way people are taxed, you and I, before we went live, we were talking about homestead exemption and business owner taxes and the tax bills that come due at the end of the year. And, I was giving you an example of how some people, they'll get mad at their mortgage company if they financed a home in the beginning of the year. And then, Bobby Edmondson over the years, has expressed how people get mad at him about his role in the process. And he doesn't, he's not the bad guy. Maybe that's a show we ought to have.
yeah, that's a good idea. As a matter of fact, I think we've got some good ideas for 2 shows coming up before long. One, and I don't remember if I mentioned this yet, but I did talk to Stephanie Adgie. This was several weeks ago, and she said she would absolutely love to do an interview and explain a little more about the voting process, at least here in Bossier Parish, and how that works. And yeah, I think maybe we could squeeze Bobby's arm a little bit. Maybe I could convince him if I offer him a fishing trip or something like that, and get him on the show to talk about some taxes, or maybe sit down and do a little interview with him, and then we could run that on the show or something like that. So yeah, we'll see if we can work that out. A lot of people don't realize the tax assessor's office doesn't actually collect the taxes. That's the sheriff's department. They just do the assessment. They have some leeway, within boundaries and guidelines that they can do the assessments on, but they've also got to follow the law too. So
That's right. And City of Bossier and the infamous Cypress Black Bayou landowner fees.
oh yeah, and we'll get into some more of that here in a second. I popped up this little comment from Terry Norris. She said, or Terry said, people wouldn't have so much trouble paying taxes if they could see positive stuff, and so not so much leaning one way or the other. Yeah, I agree. A lot of times, well, we can just go back to the road situation and the highways and all that sort of thing, but that's the first thing when you get in your vehicle and you go to drive to work, or if I'm going to pick up a computer or go visit with a client, or y'all are out doing a mortgage, or you're driving a truck or whatever, Duke. That's the first thing that hits you is the condition of the roads, and then you're turning around going, what am I paying some of these taxes for? So yeah, Terry, you're right. Maybe if we actually saw some real progress, then maybe we wouldn't mind quite as much paying those taxes.
Yeah, and talking about, the full disclosure, my wife and I, Kara, and we own a mortgage company. I think we might be the oldest independent mortgage company in Northwest Louisiana, Bossier and Shreveport. A selfish plug there. And then, but we also have a oil field service company, which, primarily has devolved to a glorified trucking company. And talking about the roads, we pay what's called a heavy highway use tax. And those monies are supposed to go for the roads. And it's based off of the number of gallons and the number of miles that you travel in each respective state. That's significant, and partly because when everybody looks at all those trucks rolling up and down the road, regardless of the company, they're paying taxes not only at the pump when they buy the diesel, but then in addition to that, they're paying even more taxes for heavy highway use tax. So don't think they're getting one over on you, but a lot of people don't know that. And we can go into that on another day,
Right.
because that's not part of our show, and we're getting kind of off a little bit.
Yeah, but you're right. That is definitely a subject for another show. So speaking of taxes and wasted money, and I could just get on my soapbox on this, not getting our bang for our buck and blah, 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 blah. Let's talk about this Washington, D.C. boondoggle that we've had going on for the last week or so.
I'm getting all antsy. I'm getting excited. Can you tell?
Okay.
It is Congress bashing time for Bossier Watt.
Yes. Well, in full disclosure, I don't think either one of us have sat down and read the entire 5,000 some odd, 10 may as well be 10 million pages of the, what is it, the COVID-19 relief bill, the National Defense Authorization Act, and
Rex, you know what? It's okay. In the words of Nancy Pelosi, we got to pass it to read it.
yeah, just pass it first and then we'll worry about it.
Yeah, then we'll figure out what's in it. Just pass it.
Well, all right, so because I know most of our viewers, I'm sure, have seen or heard something about this in the news. It's all over social media. So let's circle it to how this relates to Bossier. Well, first of all, this affects everybody in Bossier. Second of all, it seems that some of our local congressional delegation are at odds with each other. As a matter of fact, some of them are at odds with the president.
I'm not going to say there's nothing at odds. In fact, I would go out on a limb and say we've only got one congressman in the state of Louisiana of our whole delegation, including the Senate, that actually thinks that we ought to consider the citizens of the country first ahead of citizens of other countries.
Well,
I don't think I'm being disparaging there.
No, the facts are the facts. So here's what we're talking about, folks. So far, Representative Clay Higgins has been the only one that, in our opinion, and the opinion of, I would honestly say, probably 90% of everybody in the country, he seems to be the only one in our congressional delegation that is on the correct side of this issue, which happens to be the same side as President Trump.
Now, Rex, if you're a Democrat sitting out there and you're listening to our show, I mean, we've got some friends that are Democrats and they listen at it, and I'm sure they throw stuff through the wall sometimes with some of the stuff we say, but we should all be on the same page here. We should be on different pages.
Yeah, we should be, but of course the challenge is that apparently we're not. Let me see if I can bring up this screenshot right here. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm going to share this screen. This is not the one I want to talk about yet, but let's go ahead and talk about this one. So this is a quote shared by one of my good friends, Amy Bowles. It's from a Parler account. Anyway, the quote is, "I'm not an economist, but I'm pretty sure you don't need to send cash to Burma, Pakistan, Egypt, Guatemala, and Cambodia to help unemployed Americans." And, I think that's the biggest beef most people have with this is all of this money under the Omnibus spending bill is going overseas. And, we just sit here and it's the let them eat cake thing. We just get the paltry little $600 of all of our tax dollars back when the government, and I know that sounds quasi-socialist, but it's our tax dollars and the government has forced us into this quasi-shutdown crushing the economy.
But Rex, one of those countries has got a serious problem. Pakistan. Our Republican delegation in Louisiana, the Pakistanis need to have education on transgenderism. They need to be educated.
Well, okay.
Mark Johnson, Garrett Graves, Steve Scalise, Bill Cassidy. Pakistan needs to have transgender education.
I'm sorry, I can't keep a straight face while you're saying that because this is exactly.
They have got to have transgender education.
Yeah, before the American citizens. They don't even want American citizens to have transgender education and studies or whatever. It's Pakistan. The same people that were, oh, you know, what was that guy's name that they hid from us and hid from us? Oh, Bin Laden. Those people are far more important, especially their gender studies. And I'm not going to name any names, but, you know, we do have certain people on our delegation, namely Mike Johnson, that like to have their pulpit out most of the time and, you know, about gender and gender studies. But hey, no problem, sign it off and let's send the money over there. Don't worry about it, folks. You're only getting $600.
No, well, wait a minute. That's jumping to the end of all of this. We can't jump quite there. I want to go back and I want to read something that Rand Paul. Now,
Okay, so
and see, and
let's,
I'm even getting ahead on that.
yeah, let me share this screenshot out and then we're going to move to Rand. So let me circle back to what you were talking about with the, you know, people of all sides of the fence. And this is kind of throwing Steve Scalise under the bus too, but hey, Steve, you voted like you voted. So this is a Facebook screenshot of a sort of friend of mine. He's a Facebook friend. I kind of know him through some other deals. Jason Middlebrook. He's certainly no right-winger. I would say Jason, he's not on here to speak for himself, but Jason's kind of middle of the road, moderate, maybe leans a little left even. But even he says, and I quote in the second paragraph there, Clay Higgins does a much better job representing his constituency than we get in District 4. Mike Johnson has been more concerned with helping corporate Republican PAC donors than the people in need in our community. That's not me saying it. That's Jason Middlebrook saying it. Although I got to say, I got to probably agree with him.
I mean, look, it should be everybody that is pissed off about what is going on in D.C. I don't care how you cut it. The Republican Party and the Democrat Party in Washington, D.C. is not working functionally on behalf of the citizens of the United States. It's broke.
Yes. All right, hold that thought, hold that thought. So our good friend Ed Burchett just put up a comment, so I'm going to share it on the screen. That was a perfect segue. So Ed says, where was the gripe last year when all the same money went overseas? Where was Trump's gripe? Answer, there was none. This is Ed saying it, I don't disagree with you, but this happens each and every year. Now he brings up a good point.
Absolutely. And I actually have that in our notes that this is the process. Every single year, you get down to the wire, and I mean, we've played this broken record before. Just when we were joking earlier about Nancy Pelosi, we've got to pass the bill to be able to see what's in it.
Well, look, Ed, let me address Ed this way. So I'm pretty darn sure that come January the 6th, and then the inauguration's the 19th or the 20th or whatever, that Joe Biden is the president-elect, and he's going to be the next president. Unless they actually do find an 18-wheeler load of ballots and they're able to actually convince a judge to allow them to see it. It's just...
I'm going to conscientiously object, and just me and you have to disagree.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull it out.
All right, and I hope he does. But here's the thing, Ed. This is why I see this as Trump's swan song if he's not able to pull this off. Because he put the so-called Republicans and the Democrats in a box. And you're right, Ed, that this has been going on forever. Trump's not the first president to approve this. Obama before him and W before him and going on down the line. But now that people are hypersensitive to things that are going on in D.C. and these elections, and especially with these stimulus packages and the government basically crushing everything, now people are much more vocal and they're paying attention. It's not just folks like us that gripe about this stuff. Now a whole lot of people are paying attention.
Yeah, and I can't find it actually in here, but getting back to what folks don't realize is that this is the process now, and it happens every year. We get down to the wire right at Christmas, and they haggle. The government's going to close. The government's going to close. This is business as usual now, the way this process works, and it is broke. And we have all these politicians like Mike Johnson that jump out there and they say, hey, elect me, elect me. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to fix this broken system. I'm going to say no. But then they get up there and what do? They say yes. They vote in favor of it.
Well, sure. Now, some of them do go take a lot of selfies. I'm just throwing that out there. They got to be
And
hip and take a lot of selfies. All right.
so, go ahead.
Well, I want to be clear because Terry Norris just commented again and said Trump will prevail. So, Terry, I haven't completely lost faith yet, but I can just see that the fix is in. So, again, short of a miracle, that's why I'm saying that. Trust me, I don't want Joe Biden as the president, and certainly don't want Kamala Harris as the vice president, one heartbeat away from being the president. But the fix is in with that, in my opinion. Just like, Duke, you were talking about, the fix is in Washington. We all know what happens. Once they get there, that's it.
Nobody, again, Democrat, Republican, Independent, nobody is benefiting from the process. It is us against DC. And all of our representatives that are going up there, Democrat and Republican alike, I'm sorry, it is broke. It is broke.
It is broke.
Something's got to change.
And Tony Thornton just put a comment up, and that segues right into it being broken. He says, yes, for the people need the truth. They need to know what our government is doing. I have been mind blown since getting into the RPEC, which is the Republican Parish Executive Committee.
Tony Thornton, I'm going to tell you, kudos to you, brother, for speaking up. I appreciate you joining in and sharing something because not many folks want to stand up and say or call out people that they know, and speak the truth. And unfortunately, that's where we're at. The line in the sand, just like what Luke said, and we've got to hold the line, and we've got to have people to hold the line. And if that means losing friends over it, brothers, we're at that place today. We're there.
100%. Mike Collier just commented, said 75 million Republicans are really paying attention to what is happening now. You're absolutely right, Mike. It's not just, all us folks that are really into politics now. The everyday non-political person's absolutely paying attention now because it's really cutting into their pocketbooks.
It's one thing to be one of the cheerleaders for one of the parties. It's a total another thing to be fighting for what's truly best for the citizens of the country.
Correct.
The party ideology is not taking care of business for us. DC is broke. I want to jump back to Rand Paul. We said we were going to read. I want to read this quote from Rand Paul.
All right. Do you want me to pull your screen up? And let me just say, Kenneth Jenkins commented, make tarring and feathering great again. I agree. And that would make a great hat or T-shirt. Duke, do you want me to share your screen?
Not yet.
Okay.
Rand Paul has been on fire. And there's several quotes here, and I think it's worth mentioning. All I can do is read the first one here that he said. The monster spending bill presented today is not just a deficits don't matter disaster. It is everything Republicans say they don't believe in. To so-called conservatives who are quick to identify the socialism of the Democrats, if you vote for this spending monstrosity, you are no better. When you vote to pass out free money, you lose your soul and you abandon forever any semblance of moral integrity.
Yeah, that's a great quote. I'll make sure and share that in the show notes after, we get through with the live because, yeah, that's spot on.
It is spot on. And, even if you're a Democrat and you're voting, straight party line and not looking at the big picture. I mean, look, you don't get any more conservative Republican than what you and I are. And we're both sitting here acknowledging that the Republican Party is broke. We already say that the Democrat Party is broke. But if you're a Democrat and you're sitting out there, the Democrat Party's broke too.
Yeah,
It's
the
not
whole
one
system's broke.
governor that's screwing us all over up there in DC. They're both working together. And if this omnibus bill, the COVID-19 bill, and the NDAA bill all put together, which all up there, and a lot of people probably don't realize that this is the largest bailout spending in the history of the country.
Yeah, I think it far surpasses Obamacare, probably Obamacare and the last several of those deals put together. And this is, well, we got some good comments going on. So Jason Wayne, also known as Jason Woolsey, put up a long comment, so I'm going to see how it looks on the screen. But he brings up a couple of good points, and I want to address this. So this is going to kind of take over the screen for a second. But Jason says, I voted for Trump, and I know this country needs his leadership, but I will honestly say a part of me hopes Biden gets in. No doubt in my mind, a Biden presidency, we are on a fast track to socialism and communism. The American people need to be uncomfortable, and their backs need to be against the wall to truly right the ship. The political realm is beyond repair. Let's get worse off so we can rise up and fight for better. If Trump wins, the American people will put it all on his shoulders again. Whoops, I just got rid of me. I honestly don't hope that Biden wins. I really don't. But Jason's got an absolutely perfect point right there. And think about this. Think about when Obama was elected. What happened?
Yeah, he has a point, but I'm going to say that was a point the last election.
Yeah.
The thing here is and this is why, and I keep going back to, even if you're a Democrat, even if you're a libertarian, I don't care what party you're a part of, you should be concerned about what's going on, because again, do you really think that it's Democrats and Republicans calling the shot? Do you think they haven't worked together on passing this bill? And Trump, I'm not, I mean, look, I was a delegate to the RNC National Convention to nominate Trump twice. You don't get no more pro-Trump than what I am. It just doesn't happen. And Trump deserves his criticism for, putting his name on any of this hogwash. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. No Democrat and no Republican in DC is working on your behalf. I mean, with the exception of the likes of, Clay Higgins, which I can't compliment enough for having the backbone to stand up and say, I'm not voting for this, because you know what? At the end of the day, for every American in this country, I value taking care of you before I value educating Pakistanis on transgenderism.
Well, exactly. And again, another good comment and segue off of your comment. So there's my wonderful wife, Gina. She says, and she is not a political person, except she listens to me rant and rave all the time. But she says, and it's very good, everything is broke. I believe that the money should stay in America for Americans and help the homeless and the Americans that need help while going through this pandemic. No one knows how long it's going to last. People are losing their homes, etc. She brings up the perfect point right there. People, everything's broke. Look, honestly, it doesn't matter whether they give back $600 or $6,000. We don't have the money. The feds are printing it right now with nothing to back it up except the full faith and credit of our government, which I would argue is teetering on complete disaster.
And with voting for here again, okay, so they combine, the omnibus bill. They just put a lot together in one thing, and China's involved in this, and again, if you're a Democrat and you hear Republicans all screaming about, fraud in the election, and censorship and all that stuff, go to Rand Paul. Let's go to Rand Paul. Rand Paul again He hit it out of the park, and he had a quote.
Yeah, he did. Where's the
And
quote?
it's on my
Oh, it's on your
so you can
screen. Let
see
me
it
get
real
to your
quick.
screen. Hold on. I'm keeping up with comments and all this. Yeah, see if you can slide your screen over just a little bit.
Ruh-roh.
Whoops, try it again. There you go, perfect. All right, you want to read it or you want me to?
Knock yourself out.
Speaking of which, buried in the foreign aid reports last year, I discovered something. We give foreign aid to China. So government is so dumb, it is literally borrowing money from China to give it back to China while paying interest on it. So it's like you're borrowing money from the bank, giving it back to the bank, and paying interest on it while just sending them other money. It's complete insanity. And you're right, Rand Paul, I don't always agree with him, but truth is I agree with most of what he stands for and says, and that's a perfect quote.
Absolutely. I'm going to go on, and you can get off my screen there.
Yeah.
We don't need all of our show notes of who we're talking about on there still up there.
Yeah. And I want to put up a good quote from your lovely wife, Kara. She says, if there were a new party, I think there are enough people not affiliated with any party to make up for the rhinos that would stay. That's very interesting and very perceptive there, Miss Kara.
She is on the money. And I'm going to tell you, I believe this in all my heart, that in both the Republican circles and the Democrat circles, there is an equal amount of folks that they don't line up with all of the beliefs of the Democrat Party and all the beliefs of the Republican Party, enough so that I think a third party is there.
It may finally be time.
I really believe it is.
I'm going to use a famous quote, and I'm going to keep it kind of semi-anonymous, but a handful of people that are watching the show and listening will understand where it comes from. The mainstream establishment Republicans who just vote lock, stock, and barrel for their self-interest had better watch out. You may become irrelevant sooner than you think.
So a lot of people going back to, and let's just get into some of the details and the numbers here, with talking about the Omnibus bill, the COVID-19, and the NDAA bill. A lot of people don't understand kind of what the difference are. And I'm going to read these numbers here that we went and pulled off today. And of course, we can have, probably will. Somebody will criticize us and say, oh, you're not using the right numbers or what have you. But 1.4 trillion omnibus spending package and 900 billion COVID-19 relief measure.
That's insane amounts of money. And I want to, while you're reading some of those off, or we're looking at those, again, this is another great comment. So Tony commented, said, so many citizens are so misinformed, they just know what the media, friends, or social media tell them. I know I want to know what I'm voting on and for. Do your research to find the truth. Our government should be looking out for us. You could post a lie and a lot would think it's the truth. We need the truth to put this country back on track. Well, here's the problem, Tony. You can go back to the beginning days of the news media in this country and the manipulation by the news media. As a matter of fact, late 1800s into the early 1900s, the news media owned this country. So the fact that there are, fake news and all that we're using now, that's been around forever. But you do bring up a great point, Tony. I always, there's a quote that a past mentor of mine told me one time. He said, there is no right or wrong. There is no black or white. There's only infinite shades of gray. Now, it's a fact that 2 + 2 = 4. That's a fact. But when you're dealing with some of these issues, you can have the facts and then everybody's opinion of those facts. And so the key is to figure out those opinions on both sides and then form your own opinion based on those opinions and the actual underlying facts. So I agree with you, Tony, but this is certainly nothing new. All right, sorry, Duke, go ahead.
No, no, you're great. And again, Tony, to those out there, Tony, you know, he stepped up to get on the PEC and to get involved. He didn't really know anything about the process. He is getting a trial by fire, and I commend him for stepping into the fray. A lot of folks step into the fray for other reasons, and their reasons are not pure, and they don't end up fighting the fight. And I think he's heading in the right direction, definitely.
Yeah, it seems so. He's had some great quotes and comments. Yeah, all right. So here's something else. All right, let me hold on. Where is this? Legislation blocks Trump's plans renaming a mill. I was trying to find one of these other really, really stupid things in this omnibus bill. $300 million, yes, I've counted my zeros correctly, $300 million for migrant and refugee assistance. You know, look, I'm all for people moving into the country legally. We've got plenty of room as long as they do it the legal way. But $300 million when we're beyond broke and our country is shut down for all intents and purposes, that's crazy.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go back to Rand Paul one more time. Quote, the bill also allows stimulus checks for the family members of illegal aliens, allowing them to get up to $1,800 each.
$1,800 each. Yeah, it's, well, as of right now, 3 times right off the bat for illegals. They're not here legally, thus they're illegal. This is insanity.
Now, did that say Democrat or Republican or Libertarian?
No.
No, we're talking illegal and Americans. Illegals and Americans.
Right.
And who said that we're going to give illegals more than we're going to give Americans?
Oh, everybody. They all said it.
They all said it.
They all said it.
It wasn't just Democrats. It wasn't just Republicans. As a team, they said it. Who is one of the only people that stood up for the American people and said, we need to look out for the American people?
Well, there's 2 people. A, Trump put the brakes on this, even though, yes, it was in his budget that he sent to Congress. He put the brakes on this and put them on the spot. And the only person from Louisiana is Clay Higgins. The rest of our delegation has just gone on lock, stock, and barrel with $300 million for migrant and refugees and $1,800 for illegal aliens. Come on, Mr. Constitutional Rep Mike Johnson. How could you, in good conscience, vote for this? If you would have, any of our delegation, if they would have come out and said, look, we're going to vote no on approving this, and here are the reasons why. We don't think $1,800 should go to illegal aliens in this country. We don't think that we need to spend, whatever it was to the Pakistani gender studies. So we're going to vote no, and we're going to do everything we can to get a good bill that gives back to the American people that are suffering through this. We would support you, but you guys went the wrong way. Kenneth Jenkins put a comment up, says, I guess independents like me need to get involved and true conservatives take back over the Republican Party starting at the local level. Amen, brother.
Oh, but wait a minute. No. Kenneth Jenkins, don't you understand that all the conservative leaders have taken over the local Republican Party and are attempting to take over the state Republican Party? Conservative leaders.
And I might add, the same conservative leaders that are absolutely in favor of raising your gas tax 23 cents a gallon. I'm not even going to grace us with playing that video again tonight.
The conservative leaders that forced me to have to buy this van behind me, the cockroach mobile, they accused me of being a cockroach. Why? Because I call out stupidity in government.
Well, speaking of stupidity in government, yes, Kenneth, he just said, oh, that's right, we're degenerates or something. Yeah, yes, degenerates. You got it.
And that
Okay,
doesn't have a party affiliation to be a degenerate.
that is true. So, of course, I am sharing out the Bossier Republican PEC Facebook page. When's the last post that you can see there, Duke?
Yeah. October 24th, and there's our conservative leader.
Yeah. Oh, here's their guide to constitutional amendments, blah, blah, blah. You know, if I didn't, there's nothing about any of these issues here. Nothing. And if I didn't know any better, I might think that the folks who are on the Bossier PEC now, present company excluded, are on the PEC just to advance their political careers or whatever you want to call it. Because I don't see anything of any political value. At least I know when I was on the PEC, there were several issues that came up and we took a position on it and issued a public statement on it. I don't see anything here.
Rex, we regularly confronted issues. We regularly called out friend and foe, took positions. We did. And I think, I don't know, we're jumping a little ahead here.
We are. I'll get off my soapbox here.
And credit to Tony Thornton. He's I'm not gonna yet include him in that because I don't think he's a part of that.
I don't either, based on his comments here this evening, and just the fact that he's shared some good comments and what he thinks. That shows me that, right or wrong, he's willing to speak what he believes.
He's real.
Yes, exactly.
So, what is our time looking like?
We are at 46 minutes, so we got to start winding it up here, pretty quick.
Yeah,
so, what else is in this crazy omnibus bill?
I mean, I've got so much stuff in here, and I knew that it was going to be a lot, and there was no way we could get it all in here, but I keep going back to Democrats, Libertarians, Republicans, every party. It doesn't matter. You should all be, and I'm sorry, you should be pissed off. And,
yes.
And I know that's not, and look at there, I'm going to bite my tongue. I'm holding back. I know that's not politically correct. There's another term for what I was going to say, but if you aren't looking at what's happening in DC and you don't think that you're being manipulated, then you're blind. You're absolutely blind.
Yes.
So Trump pushes. He says, I object to the $600. We need $2,000 a head, and oh, by the way, we need to repeal Section 230. You want to tell people what Section 230 is, basically?
It's basically the law that allows social media platform and content providers, and not just the big companies like Facebook. Look, even my little old website. I've got a blog there. I really don't post that much, and not that many people comment anymore. But it even applies to people like me. But it gives us protection so that we're just facilitating the conversation. Okay. But the problem is we have cases where, like Facebook and Twitter have just gone hog wild. They're actually censoring, in a private sense, but censoring content while claiming the 230 protections. That no, they just have the platform and they pretty much have a hands-off approach. Well, it's not true. We've all had the little notifications on Twitter and Facebook and all that about, basically the fake news deal and all that. Now, I got to be real careful here because I'm not 100% in agreement with Trump on this from a technical side because it affects people even like me. This is not just Facebook and Twitter, so we got to be real careful here. But the problem is Facebook and Twitter have gone to the other extreme. Oh, we're hands off, but if you post something that mentions the word election, you're going to get a little fact-checking tag at the bottom of it, and you're likely to be put in Facebook jail. And so they've gone to the other extreme now.
Now, what if the roles were flipped? What if it was Democrat or liberal ideals being fact checked and put in Facebook jail and blocked? The thing can go either way. And
Right.
actually, and you can agree with this or not, but it was primarily Democrats who were more bent about what these social media companies were doing prior to conservatives and Republicans being bent about it. So I would argue that the argument is not a partisan deal. It is right at this moment in time, but it may not be tomorrow.
Well, you're right. We got to remember, as Republicans, conservatives, whether you're liberal, it doesn't matter. The pendulum swings both ways. All right.
And regardless of whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, it doesn't matter. You all should have free speech. Whether I agree with what you're saying or not, you should have the ability to say it, right?
Yes, I agree 100%. Even if we don't
And
agree, have a platform and say it.
and a Democrat should not have a problem, or a liberal, or anybody should have a problem with that. But apparently, there is a problem with that because it got booted. It got booted out when Trump was demanding it. They forced it into another bill, and who brought the bill? And this is where I'm getting into the wag the dog thing. And if everybody doesn't think they're being manipulated, Senator McConnell said, "Oh, I'll make a deal with Trump because Trump was going to veto the NDAA bill, but unless it had the 230 reforms." Well, they all said, "To heck with you, Trump. We've got a veto-proof majority." And but he said, "Well, I'm not going to do anything unless you somehow or another get this done." Well, McConnell made an agreement, and he's come out with his own little bill, and this is what he said. He said he's going to put. Let me read it here. Where I got it? I lost my train of thought. All right, so he's going to include Trump's demands: $2,000 in stimulus checks rather than the 600, which would be more than the illegals at 1,800, and also included a repeal of Section 230 and a committee to study election integrity, which again, Republicans and Democrats alike, it don't matter what party, if you're an American, you should care about whether your vote counts or not. Now, for a moment, yeah, you're probably happy that Joe Biden got elected or what have you, but you know what? The shoe may be on the other foot the next time, and then you're going to be complaining then. So, why don't we just all agree that we want it to be on the up and up rather than we're gonna play partisan favorites at the moment, right?
Exactly. Well, yeah, and the truth is, even if you have the argument that the amount of shenanigans in the election, generally speaking, are minimal and wouldn't swing the election, even if somebody has that stance, we should always want to try to get the amount of shenanigans down to zero or as close to zero as we can. It's all about confidence in the elections, not just the things that we've seen going on this year. So you're right. Hold on, I got to put this comment up. So we're going to kind of circle back for a second. Ed, that's unbelievably hilarious. How does the bank account get the illegals, or how does the government get the illegals' bank account information to send them the money?
You're gonna have to ask Dominion on that one.
That's hilarious. Well, maybe they just send them their address. Knowing our government, they probably have ICE deliver the checks. I'm just saying. That's great.
Yeah, it is good. That is good. Well, the thing is if anybody thinks or believes that McConnell's intent in bringing the bill to $2,000 for every American citizen versus the $600, and including, cleaning up the censorship of social media of whoever's voices they wanted to censor, and the election integrity thing. If you think he brought that bill because he thought it would pass, you're sadly mistaken. That was wag the dog. That was simply so that he could put it out there, so that Republicans would be able to get vote for it and say, "Oh, we didn't go against, the American
Right.
people," and then make the Democrats the bad guys.
It's a
It's
shell
all
game.
fake.
Yeah,
It's a
it's a
shell
shell game.
game.
That's all it is. All right, well, we're getting at the 1 hour mark, but we're at 15, 17 folks watching right now, and of course both our wives are watching, so let's start kind of wrapping it up. Folks, let me say this for everybody that's watching. Here's what you can do to help, because going into 2021, Duke and I both have quite a bit that we're starting to get lined up for our little Facebook Live show and Facebook page and all that. We need you to, if you have a question, a comment, something you need us to look into, make sure and first of all, like and follow the page if you're not already, and that way you'll also get the Facebook Live alerts. Send an email to bossierwatch@gmail.com, which is down at the bottom of the screen. If you want it to be really anonymous, make a free protonmail.com account for yourself. Don't put any identifying information in it. And send an email to bossierwatch@protonmail.com, which is on the other side of the bottom of the screen. And we'll be glad to look into anything. What we're trying to do is keep this starting at the local and regional level. We get into some national stuff like we have tonight sometimes. But it's kind of our belief that we need to start at the grassroots level and expose what our government and politicians are doing. Of course, it's mainly going to be the not good stuff that we're going to share, but if they do good stuff, we will share that every now and then as well. And so we can keep everybody informed, just like our comment earlier from Tony Thornton. Thanks, you guys, for the info you're sharing. He's trying to learn. Yeah, Tony, we're trying to share factual information. Of course, we add, our commentary into it and all that, but we're trying to share stuff that is factual information. And it's that simple, to inform everybody. So tag friends, share this out, email us, call us, I don't know, whatever it may be. We need some help.
9 times out of 10, things are done in local government and just government in general because people are not paying attention, or people don't know, people don't have time, and this is just one more way to have discussion on issues. We're not always right. We make
Absolutely.
mistakes and we're wrong.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely. Your wife's got great quotes tonight. She said, people need to understand the lower, less sexy and flashy positions are the stepping stones and are so important. Yes, they are, Kara. I would argue sometimes we need to be watching out because some people really like stepping stones, and we need to be making sure they're stepping on those stones for the right reasons.
absolutely. And I say that a lot, Don. Absolutely. We agree
Absolutely.
too much.
Yeah,
We need to disagree some.
Well, we'll find another buzzword or something. No way, or I don't know, we'll figure something out. All right, we're at 58 minutes. We're trying to keep it under an hour, again, to make Robert right and everybody else happy. I don't know why, but we are. You got anything else, Duke?
No, 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 no. I'll close with Godspeed, Luke Letlow.
Absolutely. Condolences to Luke's family, and hey, I hope we have plenty more politicians in the future just like Luke, for the right reasons.
Absolutely, just like him. Good night, Rex.
Good night.